You walk into the boardroom, the conference room, the leadership table, and call it the office. I call it the arena. For over 3 decades, I sat in those spaces working hard to succeed without compromising my faith. I looked for teaching that showed me how to navigate two worlds that everyone said were in conflict and found nothing. Nobody was teaching what I needed, so I learned it the hard way. Now I am here to give you what I could not find. Welcome to In the Arena with Stephanie, where we do not balance faith and work, we harmonize them. This is the home of the authentic ambassadors, women who know they were not placed in their arenas by accident. They were sent. So let's go into the arena. So tell me if you have ever experienced this. It's Monday morning and you are going into a room in your arena. You will be the only woman at the table. You will also be the only ambassador of Christ in that room. And that's not you judging others. They have made it very clear that they are not ambassadors. You will also be the only one who sees things the way you see them, and you feel it every time you open your mouth. So you step out of your car, you have a boldness about what you're about to do, even in the way that you walk. You are prepared to talk about the company's results and even recommend new strategies to improve them. But somewhere between walking into the room and sitting down, something shifts. The confidence that you had in the car and in the parking lot gets a little quieter. The clarity you had in your devotions feels very far away. And you start doing the math in your head on what it is going to cost you to show up fully in this room that you believe was not built for you. Has this ever happened to you? Well, today I want to talk about what happens in that moment. Not the pressure or politics, but what happens inside of you. See, here's what I know about the woman in that room. She is not unprepared. She knows her data. She's done the research and she knows what strategy she wants to present. She has had quiet moments with God, and those moments were real and they were specific and they were personal. And she's equipped and has been told who she is and whose she is more times than she can count. So her preparation is not the problem. The problem is that she walks into that room and leaves all of it in the parking lot. All the things I just listed, she leaves in the parking lot. Let me share something with you about my first management role in corporate. Well, I was the only woman on an all-male management team. And I remember very quickly doing the math on what belonging in that room was going to cost me. Although I had worked with some of my counterparts prior to the management role, I still had this feeling of needing to fit in. I had the credentials. They trusted me with the position, but for some reason, there was still this feeling of when you get in those meetings, when you get around your counterparts, you have to fit in. I had enjoyed watching sports and occasionally, talking about them with my nephews, but now that I was going to be in a room with all males, I felt the need to dive into sports a little more frequently so that I could participate in the pre-meeting conversations that were taking place in our leadership meetings. See, I had seen them previously before I was a part of their team, and that's one of the things that they did. I also found myself eating more because they always wanted food in our meetings. And I'm not talking about, just some donuts. I'm talking about large pizzas and going to restaurants for meetings where they had the family style menu. So, you could eat as much as you want. So I would simply indulge because that is what the room did. Now, you might be thinking, those are small things, but they were not really small. They were my auditioning for a membership that I already had. I remember one manager on the team who challenged almost everything that I did. He would even walk into my office, stand in the doorway as if I had to immediately stop what I was doing just to meet his needs. Well, of course, that didn't happen. I never did stop. But I kept trying to figure out what I was doing wrong that drove his actions toward me. I thought about what I needed to change, what I needed to prove. But of course, you know that I wasn't the problem. But how many times do we get in these type of situations when we feel like we have to do all of the changing so that we can fit in? Well, as time went on, my manager saw more of me. He saw my results. He saw my character and who I was as a person and what I was capable of. And I believe that we built trust. And so one day he pulls me aside after one of these situations with the other manager. And he says to me, he says, "Don't worry about him. He doesn't like working with women." I wanted to chuckle and basically say, you finally said it out loud, because I knew that. I had already recognized that his issues was one of two of the things, if not both. And so by my manager saying that, he confirmed one of the reasons why his behavior was such. Now notice something about this moment. My manager knew, and he had always known. And what he offered me was not accountability or even intervention. He offered me an explanation. Almost to say, as if knowing the reason made the behavior acceptable. I've seen this same thing in other arenas outside of corporate. I've seen in other arenas where a behavior gets explained away quietly, and basically, you're told to pick your battles. That is just how he or she operates. They mean well. And basically, we are supposed to receive that explanation as enough. It's almost as if understanding the source of the problem removes the responsibility to address it. It doesn't. But here's what I want to focus on today. Not what the leader did, not what my manager did, or did not do, should I say, but I want to focus on my response and what I did or needed to do. You see, I spent so much energy trying to fit into that room that I stopped being what that room actually needed. And full transparency, during that time, I had not fully embraced my role as an ambassador in the arena. I was still somewhat of a new Christian and had not really even thought about that I was an ambassador that was put in that arena. See, my perspective, my judgment, my ways of seeing things The thing that made me the only one in the room was not just my gender, but it was who I was in Christ. It was me as an ambassador being sent on an assignment from God. That was exactly the thing the room was missing. And I was so busy trying to belong when that wasn't the purpose for me being there. You see, that is the real cost of being the only one when you handle it wrong. Not what they do to you, but what you do to yourself. In Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 16, it talks about our gifts making room for us and bringing us before great men. The gift, when you go into the arena that God has called you to, is already in you. And of course, you are already prepared because every sermon that you have sat under, every devotional that you have had or read, and every moment that you have spent in prayer before that room existed, it was building something in you for exactly this. The Monday morning in that room where you are the only one, it was preparing you for Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday and Saturday. And here's what I want you to understand. You have to do something with your gifts. You have to decide that you're going to use them and activate them and not let them sit idle. You see, we can know the Word of God and still not walk in it. We can have the preparation and still leave it in the parking lot. We can even claim to trust God for something, but not act like it's true. Because faith is not just knowing the right things. Faith is putting the shoes on, even when your feet still remember what it used to feel like when they hurt. It's putting the shoes on, believing that it's going to be a different outcome. So the next time you walk into that room as the only one, I want you to do one thing before you sit down. I want you to remind yourself of what you already carry and who you are. I'm not talking about your credentials or your track record, but I'm talking about what God put in you before you ever walked into that building. The peace He gave you, the wisdom, the discernment, the gifts, the courage, and so much more. It's already in you. It's already in there. And you just have to decide that you're going to bring it into the room with you. See, you have the knowledge, you have the education, you have the experience, you have the credentials. And many times we focus just on those things. And we decide whether or not we should be in the room or even in the arena just based on those things. But it's not just about those things. It's also about your assignment and your calling to be there. You are not the only one because nobody else was available, but you are the only one in that room at that time because you were specifically chosen for that specific room at this specific time. And everything that got you there was preparation for that moment, not proof that you do not belong there. So walk in it, because that room needs what you have. I want to thank you for joining. If something shifted in you today, do not keep it to yourself. Share this episode with another woman in the arena who needs to hear it. You never know whose breakthrough is just on the other side of you hitting that share button. If you have not already subscribed, go ahead and do that now. And while you are there, leave a rating and a review. It only takes about 2 minutes, and it helps us reach more women who are standing alone in rooms that need exactly what they carry. And you have not grabbed the Balanced Myth Playbook yet, the link is in the show notes. Get it today. Read it this week because it's not a showpiece. So go ahead and read it and put it to work. I am rooting for you, Authentic Ambassador. Your kingdom authority and your corporate influence, they're not in conflict, and they never were. So go ahead and lead. I will see you in the next episode. Stay in the arena.